Hey guys, Comic Boom here to talk about Children of the Gods. Jason of the Argonauts, Wonder Woman's brother, is making his appearance in a series written by James Robinson. In the pages of Wonder Woman, guys, just came out this week. It's issue 31 of Wonder Woman, and it really whets the appetite, and it even introduces us to an old character. So I'm going to give you a 3-minute synopsis here, or try to make this as quick as possible. Bottom line is this series starts off with a bang. We're introduced to a man by the name of Paul Jackson, who looks kind of like the Paul Bunyan type, and in fact, he is a Paul Bunyan type. His name is Paul Jackson. He seems to be a stranger in a strange town, but everyone really likes him. He seems to live by himself in the woods, and lo and behold, he wanders into the woods where he encounters Grail, who is Darkseid's daughter, and Grail forces his hand, goes into battle with him, and he reveals that he is actually Hercules Unbound. And Hercules Unbound, well, Hercules Unbound is an old series it was an old 12-issue series back in the 1970s. DC Comics, during the famous DC Comics implosion of the 1970s. Well, that series came out between 1975 and 1977. It was called Hercules Unbound, and it was written by Jerry Conway. It had some great artists. It had Walt Simonson, Jose Luis Lopez. It even had inks by Wally Wood. It was a series that didn't last long. It wasn't particularly well received in the 70s. Well, none of those series of the DC's implosion of the 1970s were. It was during a difficult time during DC's heyday. But in any event, what makes it interesting here is that DC has sort of brought Hercules Unbound back. Now, as it turns out, young Darkseid, who is just basically a baby and growing, because if you recall at the end of Darkseid War, Darkseid was reborn and he's slowly getting bigger. You see the young baby Darkseid in the pages of Batman Metal, or Dark Knight's Metal. And here he's getting a little bit older, and he's feeding off the children of Zeus. Now, if you remember, the Greek gods are the older gods, and Zeus is the father of Wonder Woman. Zeus is also the father of Hercules. But Zeus is also a member of the older pantheon of gods. Now, Darkseid, of course, Darkseid is a new god, and because he's been reborn, he needs energy, and he wants to feed off the energy of older gods, and what better way to do that than to kill all the children of Zeus? And so, in this particular issue, Grail, who's Darkseid's daughter, who wants to feed her infant father, who's been reborn, Darkseid, is basically going and killing off all the children of Zeus, and here she confronts Hercules Unbound, and she defeats him, and she gets Hercules Unbound's life energies, and obviously, you can tell where this is headed, because Wonder Woman, who is also a child of Zeus, is clearly going to be on Grail's hit list to be defeated, and to have Wonder Woman's energies used to help fuel the power of Darkseid's growth from an infant into full adulthood. And of course, that's where we're going to get more into the revelation that she has a brother. And so this is really heating up. It's exciting. It's kind of a predictable way to open it up, but it's also kind of a cool way. It's a nice little evolution from the older mythology of the older Greek gods of Zeus and his pantheon of gods to the new gods, to the Kirby's gods, the Darkseid and Highfather and what have you. So it's a really good take, and particularly if you guys are reading the Mr. Miracle series, or you're reading Dark Knight's Metal, it's really good to get all these sort of classic takes. These classic characters are coming back full force into the DC universe right now. DC is really doing it right, unlike its competition. But in any event, Wonder Woman's first appearance in this opening arc of Children of the Gods, Part 1, involves her defeating her old enemy, Giganta, along with the help of Steve Trevor. And after defeating Giganta, it appears as if a new character pops up, who is the probate lawyer of this man by the name of Paul Jackson, who was revealed to be Hercules Unbound. His Earth civilian identity was Paul Jackson, and of course, it's revealed, not surprisingly, that Wonder Woman is essentially the heir to the estate of Hercules. And since they're ostensibly, they must be brother or sister, or at least half brother and half sister, half siblings, because they're both children of Zeus, it makes sense that she would inherit her brother's Hercules estate. Now, it's never really been mentioned before that Wonder Woman has a half-brother Hercules, so it's a little bit odd that Paul Jackson, it's a little bit odd that this Paul Jackson character, if he's Hercules Unbound, he's clearly part of this particular DC universe in Rebirth, but it's interesting that in past lore, in his 1975 to 77 series, Hercules Unbound took place in an apocalyptic future after World War III. So Hercules Unbound in his old comic book series really had nothing to do with the mainstream DC universe as we've come to know it. So it's a little bit odd here. And in fact, with the original Crisis on Infinite Earths, Hercules Unbound was eliminated from he was part of the multiverse, but he was eliminated from the multiverse, one of the victims of the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. But as we know, DC continuity is such now that the multiverse is back, and so, not surprisingly, many characters that we don't know are back, including, of course, Hercules Unbound. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't long for this world. He appears to be dead, but nonetheless, is he in fact part of Wonder Woman's universe, or the DC Rebirth universe? He appears so. He appears to be at least a half-sibling of Wonder Woman as well. He is now gone, and his energy has now been used to fuel Darkseid growing up. And meanwhile, Wonder Woman now, the issue ends with her being told by this individual by the name of Blake Hooper that she is the heir to the fortune. And so things are really heating up. Meanwhile, of course, Darkseid is now he looks like a pre-teenager. He sort of looks like a very dark version of Damian Wayne after a very rough night with the glowing red eyes. So it's very, very interesting. This issue, guys, really whets the appetite. Very clearly, where we're headed here is that Grail is going to continue to look for the sons and daughters of Zeus, to slowly kill all of them and to steal their energies for power to Darkseid, to manifest in his full glory. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. I will say this doesn't really tie into the Mr. Miracle series. Mr. Miracle series, I think, takes place in Mr. Miracle's head. He's battling the anti-life equation. Tom King, in writing Mr. Miracle, has indicated that particular series, which has him apparently battling the forces of Darkseid along with Big Barda, his wife, that doesn't quite make a lot of sense, since Darkseid is an infant and he's being cared for by his daughter Grail. So how do those continuities sort of jive together? They really don't, but they do jive together if this story taking place in the pages of Mr. Miracle all takes place in Mr. Miracle's mind. It's quite possible that the anti-life equation could be infecting Scott in the pages of Mr. Miracle, and he's having an adventure or a nightmare in his mind. Meanwhile, Darkseid is slowly growing in power, and in our mainstream world being raised by Grail, while Grail looks for the sons and daughters of Zeus to kill them all. And of course, the big battle is going to be ultimately between Grail and, I am certain, Wonder Woman and her brother Jason, who we've yet to meet, but the appetite's been whetted. Guys, this is a really good series. A really good way to start this series off. Kudos to DC for making this a great opening issue. The art was pretty good. James Robinson, you've done a really good job here in writing this. It's very straightforward. The plot's it's a very, I won't say it's a sophisticated plot, but it's fun. It's what we want. It's what comic books is about. It's reminding us of the greatness of Kirby, and Darkseid is coming back in all his glory. Wonder Woman is kicking ass. She fought Giganta. Steve Trevor's in this issue. Guys, this is really good, and it's always great when we can see an old character like Hercules Unbound make an appearance, even if it is only for about 15 minutes of fame, or about 15 seconds in comic book time. All right? So guys, check out part 1 of Children of the Gods in Wonder Woman issue 31. And finally, I just want to give a shout out to Shea Fontana, who did a fantastic job in the series, in the story arc prior to the beginning of this one. And she was nice enough. I won a contest. I sent her a picture of my daughter in a little Wonder Woman outfit. My daughter's Audrey's 2.5. And I won she had a little thing on Twitter, and she sent me a signed copies of Batman Day Harley Quinn, and she also signed a copy of Wonder Woman issue 28, which was really great. But I'm going to do a separate video thanking Shea Fontana for that. But in the meantime, guys, check out Children of the Gods. It's really great. And if you need to, read The Darkseid War by Jeff Johns, and beautifully illustrated by Jason Fabok. check out Darkseid War as a good warm-up for this one. You don't need to check it out to enjoy this, but it can up your appetite even more. So guys, that's it for me. Comic Boom, out.